Today we're going to look at RETEACH for surface area of different three-dimensional shapes. And we're going to break it down by doing a net surface area and then without the net for each of these. So first we are looking at a rectangular prism. So if we are thinking about this using a net, okay, what we want to remember is it should have three pairs of rectangles. And it alternates. Yellow, this one, not congruent, but then it's congruent to this next one here. So those two rectangles should have the same dimensions. This rectangle should be the same dimensions as this rectangle. So it goes yellow, pink, it alternates. And then it's a prism, so the bases, it has a top and a bottom. The top base should be congruent to the bottom base. Okay, so we should have three pairs of congruent rectangles. So I'm going to plug in these values. We've got 12. I'm going to plug in right here. The next measure is 7. And remember, it should alternate. 12, 7, 12, because these rectangles should be the same. 7, because those rectangles should be the same. Where the rectangular prisms can get tricky is those bases figuring out the dimensions. But if our base right here is 12, that tells me that all of these horizontal lengths of these rectangles should be the same. They are all 12. And then we need to remember that these two sides, when I fold it up in the net, would meet. So this side should be the same as this one. Okay? And then the last here, we've got the height of the prism. That's going to be the height of all of these rectangles. So now let's go ahead and find the area. So I'm going to multiply. 9 times 12 is 108. And this other rectangle should also be 108. My pink, 9 times 7 is 63. So my other one here should be 63. And then on the bottom, 12 times 7 is 84, so our other base on the top should be 84. So you should have three sets of rectangles. So when I'm adding these, I have a 108 and another 108. I have a 63 and another 63, and I have an 84 and another 84. So I add those together on my calculator, and I get a total surface area of 510 inches. Remember, it's squared because it's area. It's two-dimensional. The net is flat. So now let's try rectangular prisms without a net. So keeping in mind, we should have three sets of rectangles. I'm going to do the same thing here. So I've got my three dimensions. I've got 9, 5, and 8. So I'm going to start with one of those. I'm going to start with the 9. I'm going to multiply it by one of the dimensions, the 5, and I'm going to double it because there are two of them. Then I'm going to start with the 9 again, but use our other dimension, which is 8, and double it because there's two of each rectangle. And then I'm going to pair the ones that I haven't paired yet, the 8 and the 5. And double it again because there are two of each. So 9 times 5 times 2 is 90. 9 times 8 is 72. Times 2 is 144. 5 times 8 is 40. Times 2 is 80. And then for our total area, we are just adding those up. So 90 plus 144 plus 80, and we get a total of 314 inches squared. Okay. Now moving on to triangular prisms. Again, I know that it is a prism because it's got two bases. We've got one in the front and one in the back. So I'm just gonna look at this triangle here, okay? And the length that is connecting those two, okay? So the three sides of my triangle, 16, 12, and 20 should be my three sides here. And if you notice, I'm going small, medium, large. So my smallest side, which is 12, my medium size is 16, my largest side is 20, okay? And then that length that is connecting them, that's where you get our rectangles, right? With this depth or height. So the height of each of these rectangles is 10. Just like the rectangular prism, these two sides would fold into each other. Technically these would as well, but we only need these two because this is where the right angle is. So if my bottom triangle is 16 by 12, my top triangle is going to be 16 and 12. And now I can calculate each of these. So I've got 12 times 10 is 120. 16 times 10 is 160. 20 times 10 is 200. Then for our triangles, remember for a triangle, it's base times height divided by 2. So 16 times 12 is 192 divided by 2 is 96. So that means this triangle is 96 and this triangle is 96. So when I add these all together, I'm doing 120 plus 160 plus 200 plus our two triangles, 96 and 96. I get a total of 672 centimeters squared. Okay, let's try triangular prism without a net. So remembering, we are using the three sides of our triangle, and for our lateral sides, we will multiply by that height or depth of the prism. So take my three sides. We've got 21 times 14 for that rectangle. We have 26 times 14 for that rectangle. We have 35 times 14 for that rectangle. And then, last thing is our triangles. So we need to see what two sides meet at the 90-degree angle. That's the 21 and 26. It should be the two smaller sides of the triangle. So for our base, we are doing 21 times 26 divided by 2, but then there are two of them. So we need to double them. So for the 21 by 14, I get 294. For the 26 by 14, I get 364. For the 35 by 14, I get 490. And then 21 times 26 divided by 2 for one of the triangles is 273, but I am doubling it, so I get 546. So we're gonna add all of these together to get our total surface area of 1,694 centimeters squared. And last shape we're going to look at is some square pyramids, and specifically square pyramids. Okay, I know this is a pyramid because I have a point on top and this base. Okay, so we have our base, and then filling out those dimensions of the base, which is each side length is 5. And here's what's a little bit confusing. We see this 90-degree symbol for both, right? For volume, we need the height that's perpendicular to the base. But for our slant height, we want to know the height of these triangles that are folded in. So we need this slanted height here on the actual triangle side. That's going to be telling us the height of each triangle. So the height of each triangle is 6. So when I'm calculating this, first I'm going to do my base, which is 5 times 5, right? Or 25. Then I'm going to do the triangle sides, which we do our base of 5 times 6 divided by 2, but there are 4 of them. When I calculate that, 5 times 6 is 30. 30 divided by 2 is 15. 15 times 4 is 60. So for our total area, I'm adding 25 plus 60, which gives us a total area of 85 inches squared. And let's try one without. So again, we've got our base. And we want the slant height for surface area, the height of those triangles. So we have a square because our bases are 10 and 10. So the area of the base is 10 times 10, which is 100. And then our lateral surface area, we have our triangles that have a base of 10 times a slant height of 19 divided by 2, but we have 4 triangles because there's 4 sides to a square on the bottom. So 10 times 19 is 190. Divided by 2 is 95, but we have 4 of those triangles, so we multiply that by 4, which gives us 380. And we add those two together to get our complete surface area of 480 inches squared.